Good morning. For today's vlog, we are going to continue to write my medieval comic script called Girl Night. We are almost there, guys. We're almost at the finish line with this story. Sort of, because I did mention earlier that I'm gonna have to rewrite all of Act 1, but for now, we are finishing Act 3. I am both excited to finally get through it, but also terrified because, like always, I don't know the details of how the story is going to wrap up. Let me rephrase that. I know how it's supposed to end, I just don't know the details of how we're going to get there. I have so many options that I've written down throughout the years, basically, and I haven't been able to decide which path to take. I really haven't. I don't know which are too cliched to handle. I don't know which ones are just too unbelievable. It has frozen me in getting it done. My new strategy is to just write it and then go back to it to revise or rewrite it completely. But I have to put something down. Otherwise, what can we work with if we have nothing to work with? So that's my strategy. However much garbage I'm writing, it's important that you just write it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. You're welcome to come along and have some tea, coffee, and be entertained. It is Wednesday morning, and I did start writing. Kate Kavanaugh is having a live stream right now, so I am going to write alongside that. And we'll see how many words we can get in before breakfast.
My brain was so full by the end of it.
Same. So it's 9:43, the live stream ended, and I'm at 583 words written today. We finished the whole section of the fight as per the last vlog, and this morning I wrote the chunk right after the fight. Groups have reunited, people have reunited, so I had to include scenes of them interacting and doing that, and then also you have to think about the order of those scenes and the pacing for it, and disclosing all the information that we need to know in the process, because there's an underlying plot going on top of these interactions between characters, so I have to remember that too. I'm hungry and I do need to get out of these PJs, so I'm gonna take a break. Alright, so it's noon. I organized my closet, tidied up the living room, and made green tea. So I'm ready to continue to write. I have a bunch of other stuff to do today, so I'm having, like always, trouble trying to figure out how to manage my time, or at least manage the day, because I do things by how I feel about them, which really is not very efficient, but I don't see another way I'll be able to do it unless I plan out blocks of time, but I don't see myself following through with any schedule that I create, so regardless, we are still doing our best. Also, the cat is on the chair instead of my lap this time. She seems to like this little spot I made for her. It's 2:30, took a break to eat, and we're at 1,300 words. So we did meet my daily word count goal of 1,000 words, and I feel pretty good. I don't feel good at all about what I'm writing, but the fact that I'm still able to write and I'm not paralyzed by the fear of failure, pretty good. I have a ton of things to do today that are admin related. I also have a freelance job that I need to start working on, so I'm gonna put in half an hour more of pure writing. I think after that I'll feel good about switching gears to do other things. Where we're at in the story, we have returned to an original spot. It's getting harder and harder to explain the actual plot stuff because we are at the end of the story and I really don't want to ruin anything. So my apologies for the utter vagueness of what's going on inside the story. And personally, when I watch writing vlogs, I do like to follow along inside the story of what the writer is working on. It's cool to know what type of scenes they're working on at that moment. So I wish I could share more, but I can't because then you won't be surprised. All I can say is that we're entering the buildup of the climax. I already found myself taking away not a scene, but the setting. So they were going to stay at a campsite overnight. And then I realized that then we would have to show them still entering that original place and them staying overnight. So it's now time to start cutting that fat. I do find myself stretching and stretching the scenes when really I should just be getting to the point and getting to the climax. I'm having a bit of a struggle with the pacing and maintaining that tension of the incoming doom that's going to occur, and I can't quite seem to discern if I'm doing it well. So again, like I said earlier in the vlog, I'll have to really determine that upon revision. Right now I should just follow my gut and write. So we'll continue.
Oh, bookish Blackbird, you were so close.
Lol.
Okay, 26 minutes, 26 seconds. I hope you guys are ready. On your mark, it's set. Sprint.
It's noon. I am getting very sleepy, so I've reheated the leftovers of my Starbucks venti latte. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I'm going to mention it just in case. I went to Trader Joe's and Starbucks, so as a sort of like treat yourself kind of thing. It is Friday. I am at 1,073 words, and we are literally at the start of a big siege. This is the end of the story-ish. I really hope this isn't considered a spoiler, but I'm not providing any details. It's a medieval story. There has to be a siege somewhere in there. You're gonna get tournaments, you're gonna get sieges, like, it's gonna be awesome. So that's what I'm working on right now. This whole week, I've been setting up towards the siege. The things that are happening, the fight scene was part of it. So we've been setting up all of this stuff for this event. I feel good, and that's because stuff is coming out of me for the story. So I don't feel blocked. That is still way too hot. Also, I'm not a hat person, but I have a bunch of hats that are really cute, and I just never wear them because I never think of wearing them. This is one of my favorite hats, and I told myself I would wear it today just to see how it feels, and it feels great. I feel like, you know, horses when they have the blinders on the sides? That's kind of how I feel right now. I'm focusing really well by having this for some reason. I don't know if it's psychological or something. Not sure if I'm gonna keep doing that, but it's working for me right now. I'm vibing with it. I'm waiting for this coffee to cool down. Tell me, how is your day going? What are you working on? Do you have any personal projects? Wearing a hat does ruin your hair though. Look at that. I don't know what the hell is going on there. It's 7 o'clock. Jonathan is still at work, so it looks like I have the rest of the evening free. So we should go back to writing. After the last time I wrote, I did our taxes, I submitted an invoice for a freelance job, I did some other admin related things. I printed receipts that I needed to print, a bunch of other stuff. And now we're back. That is definitely something you don't see every day on our street. Hello, it's Monday, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I've had a pretty slow start. I slept like crap because I had a bunch of nightmares and my stomach really hurt and I had a lot of nausea. I don't know. This is the second time this has happened recently, so I don't know if it's some kind of diet or whatever. It doesn't matter. But in the context of today, we're having a slow start. My goal, as you've been following, is to finish writing this siege section in the story, which is pretty much nearly to the end of Girl Night. I haven't written all weekend because I've been trying to think how to approach this whole section. And I'm learning something about my writing process when it comes to tackling sections in a story that I haven't outlined fully because past Jasmine didn't do her job very well. I'm having issues tackling this section because I don't know what direction to go towards. So what I did in the fighting scene section that I also had the same problem was to make a list of the things that need to happen and create a more detailed outline first before tackling the more discovery writing type of stuff. With that realization, I'm gonna make breakfast and play some music, think about what I want those points to be, and I'm gonna write them in Notion so that I can move around the scenes and figure out the order of those things that need to happen. And I think sorting all of that stuff out is gonna make me be more comfortable writing this. Especially given that this is pretty much the end. It's the climax and I don't know how to grapple with this. That's not good. And I'll mention one more thing before we move on with breakfast. The other thing that has been impeding me from writing this section is I have several alternative situations. It's not just one way that I'm thinking about this whole section. I have a few different versions and I can't seem to decide which version is the best. And I think that's partly my issue too in not proceeding with writing this. These versions, they're all extremely different from each other. And they all have like holes within them, like they're all Swiss cheese. So none of them I can even go to and say, oh, this one is full of more details. No, they're all kind of half developed ideas. So that's the other thing that's been slowing me down with writing this. But today we're going to tackle that. We're gonna make that happen. Even if we might not even get to the writing portion, we are going to organize all of these ideas, put them in paper, and finally decide how we're going to approach this. Okay, now that we're back from that break, I read a few research books to inform me about how sieges generally work and to pull any ideas that I could input into Girl Night. What I haven't done is compile all the notes and the highlights from those books, so I think before I jump into outlining, I should extract all of those points, list them out, so I can get a bird's eye view of what exactly I've learned and how I can apply that to the outline that I will inevitably have to make today. Here's my medieval research section of my bookshelf. I did a little bit of cleanup the other day, so I pulled out books that I had already extracted the information that I needed and I had already read it. This whole pile of books are the books that I'm going to get rid of by donating at some outdoor libraries. I've either read them or I've partially read them and they no longer really are relevant to what I'm working on. Like this book about Indian art. I was really into Indian history back in college, and I already have an Indian history book on the bookshelf, and this one I've already read more than 3/4 of, and I don't think I really pulled anything that I needed from it, so it's time to let it go. This definitely freed up quite some space on my bookshelf for me to put some new books that I bought the other day, like this awesome book. What's even better about this book than the other tournaments book that I've shown in my vlog, this book showed a page from an actual tournament scoring, but it didn't explain how it worked, which is really frustrating. This one does, so I plan on reading that whole book once I go through revision of Girl Night, because I'm already done writing the section about the tournament. So I'm going to read this before I get back to that section again, if there's any details I can add to make that tournament section feel more interesting and real. The other books, I got this Bruegel book. It's all of his paintings. This book I finally finished reading, and it's part of what I need to compile. So we're going to pull that one out. I have a ton of tabs, so we need to go through them and see what we can list out. The other book that I know I have to go through is this one. This one's, I actually haven't gotten a chance to read it. I should go through it, at least in the siege, if there's a section about sieges, so that it can also help us with that section. Is there anything else? No, I think that's it. I'm still going through all the notes and highlights from this book, and there's a lot of them because this book is so good. It has some gnarly examples during some brutal sieges that are great. I finished perusing through this book, and I didn't actually find that much information that I could use to justify keeping it. So definitely after I'm done writing this section, I'm gonna put this on the donate pile. What I did manage to pull from it, something I learned about food coloring, since food was also put on display very commonly in feasts. It was dyed red with blood, made yellow with saffron, or blackened with charcoal. Sanders or Saunders, a red dye made from sandalwood, was also very popular. Green was produced by boiling mint or parsley, and seems to have found particular favor for coloring pork. I keep looking at my camera because for some reason it's losing the focus again. So imagine eating green colored pork. It's interesting, so I did highlight that little section. And the other interesting thing was what I was already doing in my notes while researching about sieges, but this author has already listed point by point what a siege attack would entail and what a siege defense would entail. So for example, a siege attack would include setting the miners to dig trenches under the walls, to create diversions, while latter parties try to scale the walls. As for the defense, some of the things that could be done would be to construct engines for counter-artillery work, arrange frequent sorties, which is basically you leave the castle temporarily to attack the besiegers and then quickly return back into the castle. Another thing that you could do as a defense against a siege was to have a crow ready. I actually learned what a crow was in this book. This was a hook on the end of a long pole by which you could basically hook your enemy who's trying to climb up your walls. Unwary assailants could be snatched up. Subsequently, they could be used for exchanges or to torture information. That's pretty much all I could get from this book. Just 2 big points. Everything else is information I already know, or any of these books already contain that, so yeah. Glad to get that over with. With all that information extracted about sieges, I really do need to work on that outline so that we can get back to writing and finish Girl Night. Just as how I did with organizing the fighting scene, I'm going to create a page in Notion using a Kanban board and just list all the things that I want this section of the story to include. Once I have everything listed out, then I start moving them around, because it's a Kanban board, into a chronological order. And then we can get to writing. So that all sounds really simple, but it's probably the hardest part. Finished the outline. It's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to jump to do freelance work and go for a run. And so tomorrow, I'll start writing. I think I'm gonna end the vlog up to this point. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.